That's what I prefer. And I came from this article. I talk about living off the grid, different things, and how things are changing, becoming more and more illegal every day. Now, I posted this in on my page, on some other pages and things like that. Now, what it's talking about is you remember people would buy an acre of land or 5 acres, and they put a little camper on there or a bus and turn it into a living quarters or get an RV or whatever. And basically, they just lived off the land. A lot of them just did not hook up to any water or lights or anything like that. They lived like that, and they was very contented living in that type of environment. Very contented, very happy with it. But what's happened is across the U.S., as this talk about, local zoning officials are making it increasingly difficult for people to go off the grid. In some instances, threatening people with jail time for collecting rainwater or not hooking into a local utilities. Now I got a notice saying if I didn't have my utilities hooked up, I would have to be evicted, and if I didn't live on my own accord, they would condemn the house. So I went and paid the water bill thing, because I'm trying to get the pipes fixed. But basically, I was still kind of somewhat living off grid because I was using my rainwater to water my plants and stuff with, and I'd go down to the gym and do my showers or whatever I needed to do. So, but the fact is, because I, I mean, that was a choice. So I had to go down there, get the water cut back on again. I had to have temporary patched up, but I don't really use the water that much. I mean, I'm replacing all the pipes and house. But the point is that is what is happening now. People who want to live off grid, catch rainwater, not use electricity, use solar power or wind power instead, are being forced to hook up to the utilities, or you will be fined. You can be evicted. You can have your property condemned and taken away from you on that. So it says, as zoning laws have increased target the off-grid lifestyle, many have moved to the southwestern U.S. as escape from overzealous zoning officials. But that's just it. It's catching up to them now. It says, in Costa County, Colorado, I think I pronounced it right, Costilla, there has been a major influx of off-grid residents to the St. Louis Valley. The combination of lax zoning reputation, cheap property, and already thriving community of self-reliant off-grid homesteaders has led to many new residents. Okay. But as you get more in, like a lot of the areas, remember I told you the woman got in trouble for living off grid down in Florida. She had a nice home. They was going to condemn it, and then they backed off because of all the news deal. But she's not the first one that's happened. This has happened to other people as well. The off-grid lifestyle enjoyed by estimate 800 people is now being threatened as county officials have recently made moves to regulate and license the lifestyle into oblivion. So what they're saying is basically they got 800 people out there living off the grid because they choose to live like that. They're telling them that, you know what, that's 800 people we could be getting money out of. We're not going to let them live off grid anymore. I says tension boiled over during a county commissioner meeting in St. Louis, Colorado, devolved into a shouting match between homesteaders and police. One of the major points of the contention is the county attempt to ban camping on your own property in an effort to force the off-grid homesteaders back onto the grid. So that's what you're seeing more and more on. That's just what it's going to be. We are residents who have come to live off the grid. It's all our land. These are harsher economic times. We have nowhere to go. 20-year resident Paul Skinner said. Like I said, a lot of people, they are on fixed income. They are very limited. A small camper, they can buy a small camper for $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever, and live in it and set up their solar engine and survive on their budget. And a lot of them just don't like people. Bottom line, we've been regulated out of life. Homesteader Robin Rutan told Colorado public radio. I came here because I couldn't live by the codes in other areas. And that's the bottom line. We want to be left alone. People want to live off grid. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be forced to hook into utilities. They don't like the fluoride water. They don't want to be paying all that extra expense. They want to just be left alone. And that's just being regulated out. The county, which requires residents have a camping permit to live in an RV, small house, or other camp-style homes, have started to simply refuse the renewal of these permits. So they're taking it away. Same way with collecting rainwater. A lot of places require you to get a permit. And a lot of them's taking it away from them, saying we're refusing it. Because so that way they can go there and fine you and take more money from you. The obvious, a major problem for homesteaders who often live in such accommodation while building their permanent residence. So they're trying to make that illegal as well. They're trying to build a home on that property, but they're living in a camper for now while they're trying to build their home. And they're saying you can't do that. They start enforcing the changes before they were actually made. One of the residents says. And then Everhart said she performed due diligence prior to buying her land. One of the most important aspects of the plan being a 90-day camp permit. Without a 90-day camp permit, camping on resident plots is only allowed for 14 days every 3 months. So basically what she has to do is she can stay on her property for 2 weeks. Then she's got to move that camper and go to some other campground, whatever, pay their fee, stay there for 2 weeks, and move again is what she's going to end up having to do. It says, in spite of her best efforts, Everhart is now an outlaw because of that situation. County Land Use Administrator disputes the claims that the county is trying to regulate people's lifestyle assistance. He says that his office has denied camping permits under existing codes and claims that too many new residents were happily renewing permits to be meant to be temporarily. Well, it's a shame. It's your own land and you can't even do it. Ain't that a shame? We're not trying to drive people off their property, he says. Says he simply wants to make sure already established rules are followed for safety reasons, etc., etc. People who choose to live an alternative lifestyle is extremely commonplace in modern America. While there may be legal issues, sorry, my tongue didn't want to work, needs to be addressed. People have a right to use land that they own in a manner they see fit, to use the technology, basically, of the law to evict people from land they own, reeks of overreach and oppression of personal liberty. And the sad thing about it, that's what's happening more and more. There is some of them has chose to start living out of their backpack. There's some that just basically lives on a motorcycle and they camp everything. They put everything, their tents and things like that. More and more, it's getting harder and harder. You're not allowed to live in your RVs. If you want to travel for 6 months, it's considered living in your RVs. So I think it's a shame, but it is happening more and more every day. It's getting harder and harder every day. People are driven more and more out towards the western areas, the desert areas, and things like that, where the remoteness of them requires them to have generators and to haul the water in and things like that. So they're still having to buy the water and things like that. So it's harder for those areas to be regulated because they are in desert areas or extreme mountain areas where the next town might be 50 miles away or something other. But when it comes down to it, it's all about them making money. It's all about them forcing them into putting trailers on the property or houses on the property, forcing them to hook up to the water systems, forcing them to have lights, forcing them to do things that they can't really afford to do or want to do. So they're forcing them out, basically, is what is happening. Saying they're not, But basically, that's what it is. They're forcing them out. And a lot of these people have lived for years on their property with little small houses, RVs and buses and campers and things like that. And now they're telling them that they can't do it anymore because they're not getting enough money out of it. So they got to get money somewhere. So they're forcing more and more of them to go into other areas and going to force some of them to have to sell their land and leave. Many of them will want to end up living out of their backpacks. Was what some of them's going to happen, and that's sad. So, this live prepper here, this is camping on your own land is now illegal. Government waging war on off-grid living. It's a shame, but it's happening. So this live prepper here, I want you to be safe, be happy. Bless you all.